Alright guys, it's Kremp again, so I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Burger Bowl delivered. It wasn't a Game 5 as many of us wanted, but it was a Game 4, and OpTic had to work for their meal today against the Vegas Falcons, and if they play like this OpTic for the rest of the tournament, they are unlikely to go much further. Lots to work on for them. Falcons, though, it's generational how bad these guys are in certain instances. The Game 4 was an absolute collapse, but before then, Falcons easily could have been up in the series and potentially forcing it to a Game 5. That will be concerning for OpTic fans, I'm sure. Kenny, though, a green series for him. Maybe the start of the turnaround for OpTic Texas, but this needs to be a substantial first step, and they're going to need to play a lot better if they want to get back to where they want to be. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Lots to get into today. Starting here, gentlemates. They confirmed that Skyz is benched and Priestahh is in, but they didn't really confirm it. They didn't do a graphic for Skyz or anything. They just said, look, this is our team today, kind of implying that the team tomorrow might be different, right? They might change their roster again. They're not going to, but the point stands. Skyz is benched, Priestahh is back in, Lynz, Lunas, Kismet, Priestahh. And if you guys have been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks, we're at a minor tournament this weekend. These aren't qualifiers, this is a tournament. The winner gets 20 grand and 30 CDL points towards World Championship qualification. If you come second, you get 20 points. If you come third or fourth, basically fourth place, right? Because it's single elimination, you get 10 CDL points. This is what the bracket looked like based on the seeding after Major 1, the way the standings were back then, and we had LAG Miami to start off the day. This was a competitive series. I said earlier I thought this was going Game 5. It did. Gentlemate's record in 5 has been horrific this season. They were 0-5 in map 5s until this particular series. But at this moment, you're looking at the scoreboard there, you're thinking, okay, Gentlemate's good start to the map. And then they get crushed for the rest of the map. So the hard point from these guys isn't great. And look, Priestahh, seemingly whatever they've done over the last few days, it's helped their search and destroy because they were pretty locked in search this series. Miami can be a bit suspect in that mode, to be fair. But they've brought in Lunas for Skyz, effectively is what they've done now. And they've kind of swapped out a slow AR for kind of another slow AR. Like, that's the concern that I have really looking at this team and the way that they're currently approaching things, is that it doesn't feel to me that they're much different. Now, they have made a change. Effectively, it is now Lunas for Skyz, although they did try Lunas for Priestahh last weekend. That didn't really seem to work. And I think that a change can be a good thing. Changes the environment, brings a bit new energy, you know, new person in the server. And there was something for Gotaka to get excited about, which was nice. And then they went on to win the final round of the Control. They won the Vault. They went up 2-1 in the series. And then they just got bodied on the map 4. Lucky went 13-20 this map, but it was a Real and Rencor masterclass. And this is such classic Miami, looking at this scoreboard here. Like, this is just what they do sometimes. But on the Gentlemate side, Lunas started off like 4-16. Like, he was good for the Zoomer numbers. But he did slowly turn it around, but it didn't really matter in the end. They still got slammed. So, yeah, respawn, not good. And they go Game 5... and there was some drama, as there always is. This was a big moment, actually, right? So Gentlemates are up 4-3. They're in a 3v4 down situation. And Lucky, while attempting to pinch on the retake, gets, well, I don't know, scanner repairs, controller breaks, something happens anyway. And he's stuck looking at the wall here. And they eventually close out the 3-4 win. Now, Miami weren't very happy about this. There was lots of drama, I imagine. They eventually replayed it. And then they won the round again anyway, and then they eventually closed it out. This was crazy, though. Lucky 1v1 against Lynz. Look how close Lynz gets to defusing. I mean, that is pixels. But he doesn't quite get the defuse. Lucky gets the kill. That puts it to 5-4, but eventually Gentlemates do close out the rounds. You know, I'm happy for Gotaka and his team. They finally got one. I'm actually just, you know, happy for Priestahh as well and those guys. They managed to get one over the line, but I'm not sure they're dramatically better. I think that's the issue, right? Okay, fair play. They came into this series, they Neslo'd them, and their search has been so woeful that a Neslo was a surprise, but for sure a welcome one for Gotaka. But both hardpoints were tragic. Maybe that's a sign of things to come, though, for Gentlemates, because if you're any team in that kind of midfield pack, you've got to be a bit of a Neslo team. I mean, let's be honest, Falcons have to do it as well, and maybe they had a chance today. If we look back on that series, the overall numbers, you'd think maybe it was Miami that won, but no, it was the search and destroys in a relatively close control. But let's get into the series that you've all been waiting for. OpTic versus Falcons. This was going to be a disaster class, and frankly, that it was. Again, I think for all the, intentions that OpTic have to improve and get better and get out of this slump, they're still going to go into a series against Falcons thinking we're going to slam these cats without too many difficulties. But there were some difficulties. It was not easy. I know that some OpTic fans were either watching this stressed or they were watching this thinking, like, put us out of our misery, right? Because at times it was pretty bad, I thought. This was the map set they came up with, a map set that Falcons certainly wouldn't have minded. But, I mean, look at this, right? Like, OpTic go into this map 1 hardpoint 14 and 13 this year. Falcons on a 19 loss streak. So, surely OpTic couldn't lose this map, right? And, well, I mean, it was interesting. There were genuinely a couple of moments in this map where I thought Falcons might have a chance. I was never convinced because what Falcons typically do is they keep their hardpoints reasonably close for the first half of rotation, then they just get bodied. And it did happen again, but they kept this game, Falcons, to about 170, 170 before they made a big error and they allowed Pred to break away with it. But OpTic was still getting broken. That's what kind of confused me, because Falcons' hardpoint is so bad. Like, respectfully. You watch their decision-making, the people they try and pick up on the map, the way that they set up for hills. It all just gets so frantic in their comms. I think that's the one thing that I take away from when I do Falcons listenings, when I listen to them anyway. It's like, they're just calling out everything forever and ever and ever. And when the game gets to crunch time, it just... they just lose all sense of what is important on the map. I think one of the problems in their comms is they comm everything like it's Champs Grand Finals. And the problem with that is that the important things on the map, it's like, hey, there's someone in the back, we've got to pick him up now. That level of urgency in the call is what Toronto do well in their comms, is that they comm quite calm, and then if something needs to be commed and needs to be recognized, that's commed with authority. Whereas teams that comm just frantically over and over again, they can miss the critical info. And whether they even actually make the right decisions from that info, whether they look the right way. I mean, the way they eventually lost this map, they just weren't looking the right direction. So, I mean, look, but at this moment, I mean, it's 170, 155. You're thinking, okay, OpTic are going to, find a way to close that. But as you can tell, Dashy's having a stinker of a map here, really, which is a surprise. I know that, like, Scrappy had a 0.9 against these guys. It happens. And to be fair, Falcons, they do love playing for kills. Like, their efficiency in hardpoint has got to be the worst I've ever seen. Like, their kills and deaths compared to how much time they get is tragic. On OpTic to eventually close it out, it really came down to a P1 where Falcons just fed Pred a couple of kills and he just laid down in the points and soaked up some time, and that was pretty much GG. So, but Falcons kind of gave it a good go. I mean, look, they outslayed by, what is this? -2, +7, so that's +5, +3, +4. So 12 kills. Falcons were ahead by 12 kills. OpTic were outslayed by 12 kills and they won by 60. So, you can take that two ways. OpTic just got outslayed by 12 kills by Falcons in a hardpoint. Not a great sign, but they won by 60. So, fundamentally, maybe they were playing a little bit better. It still wasn't pretty for OpTic. I think that's got to be said as well. And neither was this search and destroy. I mean, this search, Falcons will look at this series in hindsight and say, you know what? We actually could have won this series because this was the map they needed to win. It was the search and destroy. I don't know what was going on this round. Like, it was just comedy, to be honest, because Dashy found himself at a 1v2 over by the A site. He didn't want to plant. He was trying to find a pick and then plant the bomb, I imagine. And Falcons thought that he'd gone to B. They knew he was A. I feel like they even saw him over there. And then at some point, they both decided that we're just going to rotate to B. They gave up the A site completely. Dashy had a free plant for about 10-15 seconds. He decided not to do it. And then once they realised he actually wasn't a B, they run back and Dashy didn't plant, so he lost the round. It really was comedy. And then this was a massive round as well. This could have been a game-changing rounds in the season. Kenny in a 1v2, trades out King, 1v1, YYs, and still gets the kill. But man, that was a bit dodgy. I know that OpTic fans were watching this exact frame when Kenny, for some reason, decides to YY. Look, this is the issue, right, with Kenny popping these YYs. If this is Simp, rather than Dahum, he's getting guns. And he doesn't get guns, and he gets away with it. But, like, it's moments like that when OpTic fans are sitting there thinking, like, are we serious right now, lads? Can we not just close out this series against the worst team that we have ever seen in the Call of Duty League? But no, fair play. Kenny wins it. It was really Shotzzy who was having an absolute disaster class this map. And, you know, it is tough for Shotzzy, right? Because he was the guy leading the charge and, oh, everyone in this league is terrible and all this. And he had a really bad map 5, or map 2, sorry. They didn't get to map 5. But these rounds, I mean, this one Falcons could have won. But the round 11 was so bad. Like, it frustrated me watching it. Like, Falcons just got so scared. They put 3 over towards B, and then they decided just to have, I think it was Wixel, like, lay down on the A bomb site and just, like, pray that he didn't get picked. He got picked. Eventually, actually ended up in a 1v1, so, like, if had the round gone differently, it could have been, like, OpTic could have lost this map. I think OpTic 100% could have lost this map. Shotzzy had a really rough one. I know that it's not necessarily the best search and destroy, but Falcons, like, again, their decision-making is so questionable, and yet OpTic nearly lost a round 11 to them here. They could have lost the round 10 as well. But OpTic win it, right? They win 2 close maps, they go up 2-0, and you're thinking, okay, you know, OpTic have done it. They've not played great, but they've got over the line, and they're going to kick on from here. But that is precisely the opposite of what happens. I want to give Falcons a lot of credit for this map 3, rather than just criticizing OpTic. But I really just don't think there's an excuse to get 3-0'd by Falcons in a control. It maybe they're good control. They're good at this map compared to their other maps. They're not good at it, but compared to their other maps, this is Falcons' bread and butter control. But to lose 2 offenses to Falcons on this map, or 2 defenses, Falcons win 2 offenses, was tragic. And to be fair, Falcons secured a legendary opening break. They got the A point, they got 2 ticks on B, but it was crucial in this moment because they actually hadn't got the second tick on B. OpTic could have moved it down to 1 and a bit ticks and actually committed the time. They didn't, and that meant that Falcons secured the second tick shortly afterwards, and that was critical when it came to the end of the round, because OpTic did get them in a nasty spawn trap, but eventually they broke out, and with 1 tick on the board, OpTic lost this situation. And to be fair, it came from, well, actually, this was the next round, but this was a bad one as well. So next rounds, Kenny finds himself shooting, I think it's King, isn't it? He comes up behind King, shoots him in the back, runs out of bullets, and then gets gunned. So, you know, look, Kenny finished the series positive, but, I mean, the guy's still not shooting that straight. Like, Black Ops 6 just doesn't seem like a good game for Kenny. Like, you watch his POV, it is pretty ugly a lot of the time, and, you know, against Falcons today, he needed to have a good series, and it was good. It was okay. Like, he played better for sure over the series, but moments like this still raising questions, right? So, of course, they lost the round 1, they lost the round 2, and then the round 3, they lost their defense yet again. So I think King deserves a lot of credit. This guy's actually nice. I feel like a team of, you know, King and maybe like Dahoom and Exnid and Kicks maybe, or something like that. They could maybe be better. Obviously, Kicks isn't there right now. Wixel, man, this guy loves playing for kills. He actually isn't bad at control because of that. But, yeah, Falcons, they get the job done in 3, and it's like, this was the map that I was kind of fearful of for OpTic, really, is that, yeah, sure, you win the other 2 maps just about, and then you play a Vault control against a Falcons team that, like, you know, is, as I say, the worst team that we've ever seen in the CDL, and they get 3-0'd by them on Vault control. It ain't pretty. Thankfully, though, for OpTic, they went to a red card hardpoint, and Falcons are generationally terrible at hardpoints, so this was always going to be a slam dunk, to be fair. And this map was actually really effectively played from OpTic. Like, again, Falcons, they can't, well, they not can't rotate, but they just don't. And when they do, they don't hold. They don't play well as a team. So, I mean, look, Falcons are, their hardpoint is just horrific, and maybe Clayson needs to say, you know what, guys, let's just give up on hardpoint. We'll forfeit the hardpoint, and we'll just try and, you know, Neslo somebody. We'll win the searches and try and win the control. That's not impossible, but yeah, their hardpoint's still way off the pace here. And at the end of the game, Pred took Wixel hostage to effectively close out the map. So, OpTic get the win, you know, 3-1 win. If you see it on paper, you'd think it wasn't too bad. But I think that OpTic will go away from the series knowing there's still a lot to improve and a lot to work on. Maybe that's a good thing, right? Maybe OpTic, they win, but they recognize, okay, lots still to do. But, you know, if they played like this against another team, tough to imagine they're going that far in the series. But they win the series in the end. They nearly 100-point club the Falcons on the final map. So at least a glimpse of the OpTic that we think that we know. Dashy had a good final map of the series. And that was GG. Priestahh, I thought, had some nice words in the post-game interview, kind of giving some respect to the Falcons guys, saying that, it's a tough league, very competitive, and he wishes those guys the best. But of course, he had to take them down when it mattered today. But, look at the series results. Shotzzy had a 0.9. He did recover to a 0.9 despite the stinky search. Dashy recovered actually to positive despite the horrific game 1. Kenny was in the positive. Priestahh had a good map as well. Good series, really. King was impressive on the other side. And that's GG's OpTic Texas advance in the tournament. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. They will play Toronto tomorrow in the next rounds. That's definitely going to be an exciting one. As I say, if they play like the first 2-3 maps today, I don't think OpTic have got much chance, really, because, it's the same type of performance that was capitalized on the previous couple of weekends. But that map 4, I think, has shown a glimpse of hope and a glimpse of promise for OpTic Texas. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. We'll discuss Cloud9 New York versus Rocket tomorrow morning. Just before we close out, though, I wanted to run through this. Surge played Boston, and Surge remain undefeated in their series with Neptune. The guy has been on fire. Boston did win the Game 2 Search and Destroy, but a Game 3 was actually a comfortable lead for Surge at the start. It was a 2-0. They eventually won this map 3-2 in the end, and then they closed out the series. This was a rough map 3, for Awakening. I mean, Cammy and Wake both had pretty rough series here in moments. Snoopy and Purge, to be fair, this map, but especially Snoopy, man, this guy is doing it all. Like, I'm not going to lie, Snoopy is playing right now how I expect Shotzzy to play. And Shotzzy's going to play how Snoopy was playing last year for some time, right? So it's kind of strange, because they're similar players in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. But Snoopy's, and okay, Snoopy's on a team that hasn't got as many Slayers around him as on OpTic, but still, it's not like OpTic have been slaying particularly hard. So yeah, Snoopy's been crushing it, but just this team isn't executing right now. The ARs continue to struggle, and it was the same story especially for Cammy on the final map as well. So I know there is continued talk about some of the ping disadvantage that Boston are playing on against some of the West Coast teams, but look, they know they got to play better here, and Nastie, I thought, was especially impressive this series, and Abuzah with a good one as well. So yeah, the Surge trend continues rolling. They all play FaZe tomorrow, but hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.